Wridz has been operating here in Minnesota for over a year now. So a year later, how is it going? So some quick background, early last year, Uber and Lyft were threatening to leave Minnesota over a legislative battle. The city of Minneapolis tried to legislate higher pay for drivers. Both Uber and Lyft said they wouldn't be able to afford those higher rates. And since Minneapolis is the largest and busiest city in the state of Minnesota, Uber and Lyft figured if they couldn't operate there, why not just leave the state altogether? Alright, so Uber and Lyft threatening to leave. This would create a void in Minnesota. So other rideshare companies wanted to fill that void, and Wridz was one of those rideshare companies. Wridz has a subscription model for drivers. You pay a monthly subscription fee to drive on their platform, and they don't take anything from the rider's fare. Drivers receive 100% of the fare. The rider covers the cost of insurance, any surcharges, credit card processing fees, or airport fees. And again, Wridz only takes the monthly subscription fee from drivers. They don't have a take on every ride like Uber and Lyft. And this was welcomed by everyone. It was great to have a third option, some competition. They signed up over 1,000 drivers and thousands of riders in just a few weeks. So Wridz began operating here in May of last year, and about a week after they began operations, Uber and Lyft struck a deal with the state of Minnesota on negotiated higher rates for drivers, and there was no need for them to leave the state anymore. So there would be no void to fill for Wridz, and they would need to compete head-to-head with both Uber and Lyft. Within the first few weeks of Wridz operating here, I personally gave a few rides with Wridz, but the demand was just not there. There was not enough demand. I personally drive on Mondays and Tuesdays, and Mondays and Tuesdays did not have enough demand. Now drivers on the weekend, maybe they found enough demand. So after paying that first month subscription fee to Wridz, I believe it was $100, I decided not to renew my subscription for the following month. I wanted to wait for demand to pick up on Wridz before paying that subscription fee. I could not justify that subscription fee. But I had actually been in contact with Steve Wright, the CEO of Wridz, and he caught wind of me dropping my subscription and decided to comp the subscription for me. Because of all the content that we were publishing on the Rideshare Guy channel, this was getting eyeballs on Wridz. He wanted me to continue driving for Wridz so that I could create more content about Wridz. Now, unfortunately, and for those of you that are subscribed to the channel, you'll know that I have not published any content about Wridz in over a year now, and there's a reason for that. I have not given a ride with them in nearly a year. For me, driving on Mondays and Tuesdays, Wridz has basically become an afterthought. I almost never go online with them, and sometimes when I do go online, I'll be online for hours at a time, 4, 5, 6 hours, and won't receive a single request. Now, what Wridz did when they launched here is they expedited the launch here because they wanted to fill the possible void that Lyft and Uber would create if they left the state. But Uber and Lyft never left the state, so there was no void to fill. And also, Wridz should have advertised more and incentivized riders to use their platform, given discounted rides or free rides. They didn't offer any of that I'm aware of. And also, the higher driver rates that were approved by the state of Minnesota were implemented December 1st of last year. Wridz pays to those rates for every single ride. Uber and Lyft don't. They play with the fares. There's a 2-week top-off payment system here in Minnesota. They take our total mileage and total time and multiply that by the guaranteed rates, and if any of the companies haven't paid us to the guaranteed amount, we receive top-off payments to reach that amount. So Uber and Lyft can undercut Wridz on fares because they're playing games with the fares. Wridz is paying to the guaranteed rates on every single ride. Again, I love that Wridz came here. I love that there's additional competition now. There's a third rideshare option, but the execution overall and also the competition they're facing from Uber and Lyft has made it very difficult for Wridz here in Minnesota. I also reached out to Steve recently just to see how demand has been going here in Minnesota. I told him that I wasn't receiving any requests on Mondays and Tuesdays. He told me that their plan eventually was to begin advertising here more. I also asked him if there are drivers that are actually driving on the platform and getting business. He told me that most drivers that are driving on the platform are getting repeat business, which on Wridz, you can match with specific drivers as riders if you want to. And that option to be able to choose a specific driver is a solid thing. But personally, I don't want to have clientele scattered all throughout the city and have to drive 10, 15 miles to pick up a passenger. I like the convenience of being able to go online and get requests that are no more than 2 miles away. But yeah, for me personally, driving on Mondays and Tuesdays, it has been almost a year since I last gave a ride on Wridz. But what about all of you other drivers in Minnesota that are still driving with Wridz? Do you have repeat clientele? Do you actually get business when you go online? When I look at the map, there are always drivers available. So there are those of you out there that are still able to justify that monthly subscription fee. Again, competition is great to have, but the execution needs to be there, and Uber and Lyft are very difficult to compete with. If you've yet to download the Solo app to help you manage your rideshare business and earn more, our referral link is in the description. We also have a free newsletter, and the link to sign up for that is in the description as well. If you've yet to watch my previous video on 20 blunt things that I'd like to say to riders, be sure to check that one out. Thanks again for watching, and drive safe. Thanks.